I'm Michelle from Legal Suite, and in this webinar, we are going to discuss communicating with parties from the address book, bulk communication. Okay, so let's go into the address book on the little icon, and I'm here presented with my parties. Now, Legal Suite is designed around a centralized address book for many purposes, one of which is bulk communication. Now, this allows you to communicate with your clients in bulk. Either by grouping them together using the QBE function, which is discussed in a further webinar, so please do have a look at that, or alternatively by using your filtering. So I am going to use a very basic filtering in my address book, and I'm going to filter just to show my clients. Now again, this is all dependent on you having correctly set up your parties using the entity type and role features. Now, I would strongly encourage you to have a look at our webinar on entity types and roles. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my filtering and filter by the role of client. Now, what this will do, it will effectively filter my address book to show only the parties who act in the role of clients. Now, why would I want to communicate in bulk with clients? Well, you can use this for, say, your year-end shutdown, if you're going to be closed over a long weekend, if you're closing your offices early for any particular reason, and you need to advise your clients in bulk. Now, obviously, email is a great way of achieving this. So for the purposes of this, let's use a scenario that we're advising our clients of our year-end shutdown. So once we have filtered our screen, we would need to right-click and say tag all. And this will effectively put a little tick next to all the parties in the left-hand margin. Okay, now that I've filtered my parties, now I can instruct the program what manner of communication I want to use. So I can use a bulk SMS, obviously dependent on whether or not all clients have a cell number attached to them. Just be careful here, because with certain jurisdictions, you wouldn't attach a cell number, you would attach it to the natural person belonging to the jurisdic. Your next option, and probably the most sensible, is email, because in this day and age, everyone, jurisdic or natural, should have an email address. You can send a letter. This will effectively generate a letter for every single one of the tagged parties, or you can use a fax. Now, please do have a look at our webinars on how to generate these items individually. It works in the exact same fashion. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to use the email function. So I'll hover my mouse over the email icon and I click on it. So what the program will now do, it will want to generate email to all these parties, but what it's done is it's filtered out the parties which currently have no email address. So I would need to go into each of these parties by standing on it, clicking on the little edit icon, and you will see as soon as the party opens up in the address book, I can then pop in an email address. So just as an example here, I'm going to pop in my email address. So let's just get that in there. There we go. Right, and if I say OK, and I say OK, you will see that that party should pop up off the list. Or if I go back into it, you will see that I now have an email address. Okay, so I am not going to add an email address to all these parties. I'm simply going to say close, and what the program will now do is it will only send emails to the parties which have valid email addresses attached to them. So here at the to field, you can see I have multiple recipients. Again, as with emailing on an individual party, you can copy, you can put in your subject matter, for example, year-end closure 2019. Oopsie, my apologies. Let's just do that again. Right. And in our subject line, year-end closure 2019. And in here, you would insert the body of the email. Right, we don't want to charge the client for this, so I'll take it off. This is a courtesy email, and I would then click on the send button. And in order, again, to see how the emails send from the program, please do have a look at our individual webinar. So I would then, once I've inserted the body of the email, I would click on the send button, which I'm not going to do because my test system will then generate emails to all and sundry with regards to closure, but it will send from Outlook. And once I have sent the email, it will, as in the usual fashion, embed the email in the document log for each of the tagged parties. Okay, so if I were to say cancel, and once again, if I were to send a bulk SMS, for example, it would then say, right, you've got 50 parties tagged. Do you want to send an SMS? And you would then say yes. For the purposes, I am going to say no, however. Please do remember that once you have finished with your bulk communication, to right-click and untag your parties, and also to just reduce your filtering back to all.